Hi, welcome back to Family and Fit, where we talk fitness and how to integrate it in your busy lifestyle. So today, we'll be talking about how to hit your protein macros for the day. This is one of the hardest things to accomplish whenever it comes to a diet and really trying to bulk. And whenever you're cutting, you want to try to also make sure your protein levels are higher as well. And the reason why it's so tricky for you to hit your protein levels, aka macros, aka macro goals, is because as a primal instinct, we do not necessarily crave proteins. We crave fats and sugars. Essentially, we crave sugars because it's a quick form of energy, and then we crave fats because they're high in caloric density. If you're able to hit your protein goals, and especially be able to hit them earlier in the day, it makes the overall process so much easier to stay on track with things. Your calories almost fall in place. If you just primarily focus on consuming a high level of protein, which I would recommend anywhere from your body weight in grams. So if you weigh 150 pounds, that'd be 150 grams of protein, or like 1.25, 1.5 times. So roughly about 200 grams of protein for your totally daily intake. So the range would be 150 grams of protein to 200 grams of protein for somebody who's about 150 pounds. And I would always suggest that you keep your protein levels higher because they help you feel full and fuller longer. And also, proteins break down into a thermogenic. So if fat loss is one of your goals, it'll help with being a thermogenic and your body having to use extra energy to break down those proteins. And then when it comes to on a bulking standpoint, you have to have these proteins to make sure that you are allowing your body to have the building blocks that you need to grow. There's a rule of thumb that I have that always helps me with hitting my protein goals for the day and trying to hit them as early as possible, and then also to curb my appetite at the end of the day, so that way I don't consume a lot of stuff like ice cream and mess up my macros at the end of the day. And if I haven't quite hit my protein macros for the day, then I can use these other tricks to try and make sure I balance out my proteins and hit my overall goal for the day. The rule of thumb that I have is to use a 10-to-1 ratio. And what I mean by this 10-to-1 ratio is for every 10 calories, you have 1 gram of protein. For example, on a more realistic level, you would have something that would maybe 100 calories, and you would want to make sure that that 100 calorie product has 10 grams of protein. If it's a 200 calorie product, then you'll want it to have 20 grams of protein. Now, this is kind of like my minimal general rule of thumb. If it does not have that ratio, I'll consider it like a junk food and doesn't really fit into my macros. Now, I will fit in other foods into my macros, but I will make sure that the sum total of every meal, or I also have my protein levels super high already for that period of time of the day. So say for instance, if it's lunchtime and I've already got 60 grams of protein in, or let's even go with an even higher number like 90, 120 grams of protein. It's lunchtime and I already have 120 grams of protein. We're just going all the way to the highest level with it. At that point in time, I do not necessarily worry about the 10-to-1 ratio because I already have over 75% of my total daily protein macros in. Therefore, I do not feel pressured to try to consume a heck of a lot more protein because there's a lot of proteins that will fall in naturally. So as long as you're not eating nothing but ice cream and you're eating whole meals, like you could go to McDonald's and eat a burger and still hit your last 20 grams of protein, or last 60 grams of protein, whatever the rest of your goal is for that day, and not worry about messing up your macros completely, as long as you keep that ratio really high. Now, the other thing is you do not want to go too high in your calories as well. So whenever I have a day where I'm talking about having 120 grams of protein, and my calories will be super, super low. This will be like something like I consumed 2 protein shakes and got 60 grams of protein from that. And then I ate maybe like egg whites for breakfast and got like another 30 grams of protein from that. And then for instance, lunch, I ate like some chicken strips or whatever, like chicken tenders, like not breaded or anything like that. So I was able to get another 30 grams of protein in there. So when I'm sitting at 120 grams of protein, all my calories are essentially protein calories. Now there might be a few grams of carbs in there, but it's not really that big of a deal, being that it's so early in the day and that you already have your protein macros up so high. See, with proteins, you should feel fuller for the last period of the day, and so therefore, if you do splurge and eat some more junky foods like McDonald's or something like that, you don't have to worry about your macros necessarily being messed up. Another thing that I really like to try to do is to make sure that I'm consuming my proteins as soon as possible. So like one of my main staples that I do almost every morning is I'll do a coffee protein shake. I have other videos regarding this. I have other videos regarding most of the topics that I talk about. But, and I actually, one of the tricks that I use is intermittent fasting. I just made a video, that was my last video that was posted, was an intermittent fasting video, kind of diving into hitting your protein macros and how I'm utilizing intermittent fasting to hit my protein macros. One of the things that I try to do is, like, no matter when I'm eating my first meal of the day, I always try to make sure that the majority of my calories are coming from protein. And I do that just because I want that initial boost. I want to ensure that I'm getting my protein levels at a substantial amount before I get to the end of the day and I'm like, I don't want any more protein. I am one of those people that struggles to take in protein. I was one of those people that if I tried to go for the 150 gram minimum, I'd feel sick, especially if I did it day in and day out. And what I've realized and what's made it so much easier is the first like meal of the day just being super high in protein and super loaded. So I'm looking at like 60 grams of protein, even if it's from a protein shake. But I get that initial boost of protein at the very beginning of the day. Then I'm set up for the rest of the day to more easily hit my protein. So say for instance, if I have to do something like a McDonald's or something like that, I can still manage to hit my proteins at the end of the day and not have to cram in all my proteins at the last part of the day. Say for instance, if I didn't eat anything at all and I started off my first meal with McDonald's, that's gonna make it very difficult to hit the protein macros for the day. And the other trick is you're consuming proteins when you're hungry, whenever your body wants something in it. And by consuming proteins whenever you're really hungry, it doesn't feel as much of a turnoff to eat it, and you're actually okay with consuming the protein because you're just glad that you're getting to eat something. Whereas if your calories are already high for the day, your satiation will be already kind of full, and really the only foods that your body will want to strive for is carbs and fats. That goes back to the instinctive part of our body where that's what we want. That's what we natively want to consume as humans. When it comes to the end of the day, if I am behind on my macros, I got a few things that I use as like a dessert to be able to get myself past the cravings of ice cream and all these fatty, high carb foods. One of my examples is I do this cinnamon roll Greek yogurt with Splenda in it. If you get plain non-fat Greek yogurt and you check out the macros on it, it can essentially be as high in protein as a protein shake. And you make this thing out to be a dessert. You can even put stuff like fruit in it. You can put basically anything that's sweet inside of this and make a dessert out of it. And it's something that will not necessarily mess up your macros as long as you don't put too much fruit and stuff in it. That's why I use an artificial sweetener with a lot of cinnamon. That way I don't mess with the macros at all. The macros are still the same, and I'm able to boost my protein levels up even higher. And so just making some type of dessert out of things is a great way to go about it. Maybe stuff like protein oats, which a lot of people eat for morning. But just find some type of way to make a dessert. I have other videos that regard making some type of like healthy fit meal that's like a dessert type of thing. And it just helps with not going for the ice cream and to make sure you're getting your proteins in whenever you really don't feel like it. And that's really what it's all about. It's about battling your natural state and your natural desires to consume the fats and the carbs, and to find a way to fluctuate that, trick yourself into thinking that you're getting fats and carbs, and trick yourself and consume your proteins at an early time of the day to make sure that you already have that level boost. If you have any tips yourself, make sure to put them down in the comments below. Help the community out. Also, hit that subular button if you're not already subscribed, because we post Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And if you hit that notification bell, you will get notifications whenever we upload. So we're posting with all kinds of different fitness topics, really striving for the 9-to-5er and focusing on being able to get your average person to the gym on a daily basis, keeping it consistent, and not giving up on your goals. Guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'm doing a 10K challenge soon. Catch y'all later.